but you already know. I'm just reminding you. I don't know who was involved with my gift this morning, but thank you very much. Gas was $2.04 cheaper here than at home. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. So my talk today is Love Prevails. Ironically, I didn't get with everybody else, but that's how the world works. Just lines right up. It's pretty cool. So when Darren asked me to speak here, I always enjoy sharing with you guys. And so I'm like, okay, what good topic will be for this Sunday? And so I had some other things going on in my life in the last 10 days or so. And so I was thinking of that, and so I got to stop thinking about that and think about the talk, the message for Sunday. But I kept thinking of the other item. No, I got to get ready for the talk. It took a little while. You know how sometimes it's a tap on the shoulder, and then eventually it gets up to a 2x4 to get your attention. And so the 2x4 arrived. Maybe it was a 4x6 arrived, and let me know that the things that I was thinking about is what I need to share with you today. So I'm not sure if you're aware, but you will be now, that I have 4 kids and 4 grandkids. I love family. And it's extended out to the CSL family. So I know anytime I walk in the door of a CSL community, I'm welcomed. I get hugged abundantly, even during COVID. And it's just it's a great experience for me. And I just love family, and I love that experience. And so another thing that I do, and if you remember me talking before, is that I love to reference movies. And so I've referenced some movies in my time coming here. And the reason I do that is because I believe it triggers the imagination. You're able to see in a 2-hour snippet of time somebody's imagination of the possible. And so the movies I share with you are ones that have meaning to me. And so the movie I want to share with you today is Patch Adams. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but Robin Williams is one of my favorites. And so that movie got a lot of poor reviews. I think 22% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I picked Jonathan Livingston Seagull as a hit too, and it was a flop, so I guess I'm on a roll. But anyway, Patch Adams is a movie it's loosely based on a true story back in the 60s and 70s of an individual that late in life decided to become a doctor because he felt that people needed to be treated better than they were. And I don't know, I'm not going to say I was back around in the 60s and 70s, even though I was, but don't do the math. But anyway, so doctors back in that time were taught to be very sterile, to treat the patient, don't get close to them, don't engage with them, put up a shield. And so then Robin Williams comes in, or Patch comes in and says, no, there's more to it than that. And so the movie's about that experience, and as he was in a very dark place, and then he came out, and this treating of those that needed treating was his drive that got him going. And so as he got going in this, the movie depicts various things that happen, but he sees this sterile environment that he's being taught that's how to be a doctor. And I have a couple of little quotes here from the movie. You treat a disease, you win, you lose. You treat a person, I guarantee you'll win no matter what the outcome. And I really like that. And so then he started working with people in a hospital, and some of them were dying. Some of them were terminal and cancer or other elements. And he got chastised for making them laugh and for giving them a fun time. And I remember the trademark of the movie is the red nose on the kids that had terminal cancer, and so they were wearing the red nose. And then he even took a lady that wanted to take a bath in pasta. And so he carried her out, and they had one of those tent swimming pools filled with pasta, and she just had a great old time. And so there are many instances in the movie about that, and he got chastised for doing that because he was giving these people hope, and and the doctor said, that's not our image. You have to stop that. And so this is a quote from Patch again. "What's wrong with death, sir? What are you so mortally afraid of? Why can't we treat death with a certain amount of humanity and dignity, and maybe even a little humor? Death is not the enemy, gentlemen." And so there are many things in that movie, but I just wanted to relay those points because that carries the crux of what was meaningful to me. And so I told you I was thinking about other things besides my message today, and so I wanted to share with you some of those thoughts. It's the anniversary. Last Friday, I believe it was Friday, was the anniversary of my family losing a very close friend. My kids are very close-knit. You know, they say stuff and talk to each other, and I'm not allowed. You know, it's the sibling thing, and so it's pretty cool to see how close they are. And there's a 10-year gap between the youngest and the oldest. So a lot of times they have their own friends, but this particular friend spanned all four of them. And he was a great guy. He was welcome in our home, spent a lot of time with my oldest son, and it was really a good time. This is a good person. Well, he was killed in a home invasion, and that was 17 years ago. So whenever it first happened, we went blow by blow. This is what happened, this is how they got in, this is what they did, this is his last acts, this is everything that happened. And that was a focus, and it was just tearing us up. But what happened was love prevailed. Love prevailed for him, and love prevailed for my son and my other kids. And so we celebrate Jason's life every year on the 21st of May because he's meant so much to us. And so those events 17 years ago, they kind of fade away, but the love never fails. Never fails, never falls away. And so that was just, it was just re-energizing for me to be with my kids and share that love with them. And then I've had other events, and I just wanted to share those because I went through a process. I got exposed to this teaching 12 years ago. So now I have to stop saying those times because it makes me older and older and older. But anyway, I was fortunate in my life to have two moms. And I don't know how many of you got the fortunate to have two moms or more than two moms, but I loved it. And I've lost both of my moms. So I lost mom 8 years ago, and then I lost a mom 3 years ago. And that was a very hard experience. The one that happened 8 years ago, we were given a few minutes notice, and we were here and she was in Las Vegas. And we raced, and I won't, because I'm being recorded, I won't cite the speed that I was going to get from Orange County to Las Vegas, but we got there in a very short amount of time. And we got there and we had 10 minutes to spare to say goodbye, to say I love you before she passed on. And then my other mom, this was 3 years ago, she was having some challenges, and she was okay, but she was having some health challenges, and we checked her into the hospital. They were treating her. We were going through this whole long-term care piece, and we went from the long-term care piece to hospice to she passed away in a matter of 2 days. So that was very traumatic, and my dad had been with Joyce for 36 years, so that's my second mom. And so my dad had a real hard time with that, as you can imagine, 36 years. And so love prevailed again, and love prevails even today as I spend time with him and love him, and we remember, Joyce together. And I have one more to share with you, and that's my daughter-in-law. And yesterday was the 1-year anniversary of her passing at 40. She passed away at 40 years old. Married and with my son for many years. I'm thinking it was 12 years, but I know it was a really long time. And she had a very, very hard time. She went through some health challenges and had transplant surgery, and then the last thing that she got was cervical cancer, and she couldn't get through that. And so she left us. And so the whole family was heartbroken, but what happened was love prevails. So I'm with my son, and yesterday we golfed. I don't know if you guys know I'm a golfer, but my son got me into golfing, so we're golfing. And we spent the day together, loving each other and spending time with each other, knowing that that was the anniversary, but also knowing that life goes on and that we loved each other. And so I started asking myself, how can I keep saying that love prevails, without it just being something to say? How do you say love prevails and it means something to you? Well, Ernest Holmes shared with us a few thoughts that I want to share with you. The spirit is both birthless and deathless. The principle of life cannot know death. The experience of dying is but the laying off of an old garment and the donning of a new one. Does that change your perspective on death, hearing those words? It makes it so that it's not a finality. It helped me to look into the spirit, the soul of the person that goes on forever, always spiraling onward and upward. And as you can imagine, those people doing that, spiraling onward and upward, a peace comes to you. And you're able to share that peace with those that you love, and love prevails. Another quote, as I wanted to say something about recent activities or recent tragedies, and unfortunately, anytime you turn on the news, there is a tragedy, and unfortunately, they get worse and worse. And so, our tragedy in Texas this past week hits home in the heart and aches, especially, I say especially, but I don't think that's true. If you're a parent, or if you're a sibling, or if you're a grandparent, and you think of children dying, it just rips your heart out. And so what is ours to do? What can we do as we sit in this room today and know that that loss has occurred? Well, there's things that you can do after you process and understand these things. And I'm not talking about those, and I'm not going to bring them up, but there are things that you can do materialistically to make a change. And so if it's yours to do to make a change, then make a change. But what I'm wanting to do is to reach everybody. And to reach everybody, the first step is to show compassion. To show compassion for those that have tragedies, and show compassion for those that are also experiencing the tragedy even though they weren't there. So Ernest Holmes tells us that compassion is the most gentle of all human virtues, for it is the outpouring of the divine givingness through all. We must be in the world, but not of it. We must relate to all beings in love and with a sense of compassion. Compassion is the deep understanding of the suffering of another and the encompassing and immersing the other in love. So those events that I relate to you about myself and my family, I didn't know how to react. I didn't know how to love my kids so that they understood that I understood their loss. That made it so difficult. But what happens is I reached this teaching 12 years ago, and I understand of that soul within. I understand that divine spark that we all have. We can't make it brighter. We can't make it darker. That spark is ours, and we get it forever. And though we may cast this body aside after whatever event or after whatever age, the spark continues and will always continue. And so as you look at other people, look at that spark. Look at that divine spark within them and be uplifted and know that love always prevails, and show compassion for those that have lost. Show compassion for those that are around you. You don't need to wait until there's a tragedy to show compassion. You don't need to wait till something bad happens to have a good feeling and to love one another. I guarantee you that I love my kids and my grandkids and my dad every day. My dad, he's quite a character. He's going to be celebrating 90 years old on Wednesday, but we're throwing this big party for him. And all just limited to family. And there's over 50 people coming. So imagine how big that family is. So there's 7 sons and daughters. There's 14 grandkids, and I believe there's 12 great-grandkids. And we're all coming together in Vegas. And so what do you think of when you talk about Vegas? Casinos, gambling. Well, my dad loves to play poker. And so he's well known in the poker room. And it's like the Friends sitcom, everybody knows your name. He goes into there, everybody knows his name. Not only the dealers and the bosses, but also the players. So he missed some time because he had some health issues. And they were calling me up, how's your dad? When's your dad coming back? What's going on with your dad? The first time he was back after several months, he arrived, but he wanted to look good and dapper. My dad likes to look dapper. Look it up. But anyway, he had gotten a haircut, and he came in, and I counted over 25 people came up to him on his day back playing the poker room, commenting on his hair. And he's like, oh man, I'm gonna get my hair cut more often. And so I don't gamble. I don't like, giving my money away. Grew up in Vegas, and so I had a saying that said, all those big buildings and billboards and all that was not built on people's winnings. They were built on people's losing. And so I don't really gamble, but I play poker with my dad. I imagine going in there, that's something that he loves, and I sit there and I play and I lose most of the time. But it's the experience. I'm playing poker with my dad. I'm spending this quality time with him, and will always remember poker with my dad. And then when my sons and daughters go, guess what? We play poker with my dad. So we have 3 generations. There's 8 seats at the table, and we had 5 of them with family. And we were playing poker with my dad. Love prevails. It always prevails. Nothing's larger than love, and nothing can replace it. So as you look at the events that happen on TV and you listen to the events that happen in the community, just remember that you are a divine being. That spark is within you, and we're all one. You're never alone. And most of all, you are loved. And if you don't know that, just ask me. I'll tell you. You are loved. I wish all of you a big hug, and I'll be available over the side here for big hugs for those that are open for it. But I just hope that you can take the words of compassion, take the words of love prevails, and let that be the dominant factor in your life. And as other things come into your life, know that love always prevails.